Hello and welcome to a special edition of Talking Templars. And we're going to be talking about my latest book on the Knights Templar, which is called Downfall of the Templars, Guilty of Diabolic Magic. And I know that you, Dr. Steve Tibble, will be getting your copy early on. So have you got any questions to ask me about my new and rather stupendous book on the Templars?
Well, I'm very much looking forward to it, Tony. But one thing I'd really be interested in is what's your take on witchcraft? How much of that is true, and what were they even accused of?
Okay, so the publisher has come up with a provocative subheading, which is Guilty of Diabolic Magic, ? So you might be wondering what on earth is that about? I'm basically looking again at the trial of the Knights Templar between 1307 and 1312, normally assumed to be just about money, that the King of France wanted to get his hands on Templar wealth. But looking at some of the contemporary reports, records, and subsequent histories, what also comes out of it is that the King of France seems to have genuinely bought into the whole idea of sorcery being linked to heresy and so on. And he was conducting parallel prosecutions against others who he was accusing of witchcraft, essentially. So, for example, a group of women preachers called the Beguine, who were also incinerated at the same time as the Knights Templar. So I'm looking at the possibility, what I think is actually the evidence, that King Philip of France really bought into this witchcraft idea, and that it's actually the beginning of the witchcraft mania that was going to grip Europe and later the New World, the Americas, for 300 years, really, from the 15th century to the early 18th century.
I'm conscious, Tony, that you're of Portuguese heritage, and I know when people talk about the Templars, they talk a lot about France, being sort of slightly parochial. We talk about Britain quite a lot, but how did it play out in Portugal?
Well, so there's an entire chapter in the book all about the Templars in Portugal, particularly with regards to what happens to the Templars right at the end. So the King of France is accusing them of all sorts. What happens to the Templars in my motherland, my mother's native country of Portugal? And what I show is that the kings of Portugal basically rebranded the Knights Templar into something new called the Order of Christ. And what I also challenge is the idea that some promote out there, that Portugal had this beautiful relationship with the papacy and with the Templars, and it was natural for the Templars to come to Portugal and be protected and blah, blah. Actually, the Portuguese kings had a pretty dreadful relationship with the papacy. They resented the fact that in exchange for getting recognition for Portugal as a kingdom, they had to make concessions to the church, including paying great big amounts of money to the Pope. And so anyway, it led to the excommunication of 2 or 3 Portuguese kings. So they had a pretty horrible relationship with Rome most of the time. But with the Templars, they really admired the Templars because the Templars had helped them to liberate Portugal from the Islamic Caliphate and also from the neighbouring kingdoms of Castile and Leon. So they felt they owed the Templars something. And so it was not surprising that they then decided to, as it were, protect the Templars. But I do add a note of caution there, that actually what the king was also doing was expropriating the Templars, because this is another thing, this idea that it was all friendly and a big love-in. No, the King of Portugal was taking over Templar assets, much as the King of France was. He was just doing it in a nicer way, and that's a key difference from what some other people out there say.
No, you're right. And at the heart of the Templar story, I guess, we always have this theme of betrayal. It's arguably one of history's biggest, most brutal betrayals. And the fact that you and I are still here talking about it, and it is still very, very hotly debated, that has big implications. Why do you feel that resonates down through the ages?
Well, it's a very interesting, and again, this is my last chapter in the book, so I look at the way in which the Templars have been portrayed in popular culture down the centuries since they were destroyed. And it's interesting to see that, Walter Scott, for example, has them as nasty French, Norman foreigners, in our beautiful Anglo-Saxon England. And then you get, obviously, the Assassin's Creed modern franchise, where the Templars are, again, the nasty guys up against the lovely assassins, a rather implausible storyline, but there you go. That's what it is.
God's got to eat.
It's got to eat. But then, you have George Lucas, who modelled the Jedi on the Knights Templar, and you have other depictions of the Templars which are way more positive. I mean, I suppose the Da Vinci Code as well, but this idea of the Templars as heroic, but we just don't seem to have made up our minds whether or not the Templars are the good guys or the bad guys, and how we depict them tends to have more to do with what's going on in our own time than any of the reality relating to the Templars. So do get a hold of my new book, Downfall of the Templars, Guilty of Diabolic Magic. There are links, by the way, to all our books. Steve and I are prolific writers with adoring readerships, but we're always willing to expand our readerships, and our links in the description box below. So please, please, please go and have a look. Do click on. We are hard-pressed authors trying to... aren't we, Steve? We're very hard-pressed, aren't we?
Obviously, I feel hard-pressed.
We are hard-pressed. But for now, thank you for watching this blatant plug for my book, but go and buy it because I think you'll enjoy it. And for now, goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Non nobis domine.